Welcome to the Original Gangsters podcast. I'm your host, Scott Burnstein. Quick hitter edition. We've been, for whatever reason, we've been out of Canada. Not for whatever reason. There hasn't been stuff to report in the last week or two, but we're back going up to the Great White North. And we're going to discuss a pretty notorious name in the Quebec underworld, Hells Angels shot caller / enforcer / construction industry boss, Marvin Ouimet, a.k.a. Casper, a.k.a. Casper the Ghost. It appears that he is back in prison and got violated back in the fall. Shout out to La Presse and Dan Renault for breaking that news in the last week, and that had to go back in front of a parole board to try to find his way back outside. And we're waiting on the decision of the parole board. Just my speculation that Casper, just the timing that he came out of prison in late 2023, and he walked into a hornet's nest because that was at the very height of tensions between the Hells Angels and the Rizzuto mob. And some of those tensions, rose to the level that they did because of issues allegedly with Casper, stuff that was going on behind bars with Casper, having some of his rackets be infringed upon. And when he came out in September of 2023, there were some dominoes that fell, and we're not tying him to any, crimes or fire bombings or murders or anything, but there were a number of high-profile fire bombings and murders that happened right after Casper came out, and one of them being the November 2023 assassination of street gang godfather Greg Picasso Woolley. There were a lot of eyes on him, and there were also allegations, some coming from us here at Original Gangsters, that Casper came out of prison and immediately became a quote-unquote war general for Marty Robert and Walter Stadnick and the Hells Angels brass for what was going on with their issues with the Rizzutos, which, as you know, if you've been following us, have been resolved, and there is no more war. It ended after 26 months, and now everybody's back on the same page and working harmoniously again like they had for decades prior to that. But in the year that Casper was out, that wasn't the case. He was in from 2010 to 2023. He was convicted of multiple murders tied to the Great Quebec Biker War. He was known to have a foothold in the construction industry and was really the point man for a lot of lucrative construction rackets, working in tandem with the Rizzutos, the West End Gang, and so forth. But when he got taken off the streets again back in October, the war had not ended yet. It ended in December. So he was violated for continuing Hells Angels business and meeting with people that he wasn't supposed to be meeting with. He's lucky. Frankly, the Canadian justice system is a lot different than the American justice system, and convictions of gangsterism and convictions in America of racketeering, although on paper look identical, in reality, the time served is often, there's great disparity. And, the SQ and the RCMP consider Casper a suspect in over a dozen gangland homicides, convicted of a number of those, and he only did 13 years. So if that had happened in the United States, he would never be seen the light of day. But he got out after 13 and a half years, but is back in now trying to make his way back out to day parole. I think the fact that the war has ended and tensions have ceased at the highest levels of the Hells Angels and the Rizzuto mob probably works in Casper's favor for getting back outside out of 24-hour incarceration. The fact that the parole board and the law enforcement know that there probably aren't the threats coming from him or to him that then was the case back in the fall when he got picked up. So we shall see. If I had to predict, I'd say that he's probably out on day parole by the spring. But it was news that went under everybody's noses until Dan Renault was able to report it a week or two ago. I wanted to touch on it because he is a major player in 81 Nation, not just in Canada, but around the world. A guy who needs no introduction anywhere he goes. Hits all three boxes: loved, feared, respected, and somebody that I know Marty Robert and Walter Stadnick have a lot of respect for. Before he got locked up in 2010, he was a president of one of the chapters in Montreal, and as I said before, was working boots on the ground level in the construction rackets and building quite the portfolio for the Hells Angels. Because you got to remember, Hells Angels didn't really start to diversify to the point where they had those kind of off the street rackets really until the 1990s. They were just a street gang, or I should say they were just a motorcycle club that ran street rackets. And then via Monboucher and the relationship to Vito Rizzuto and other things pushed them to diversify, which has been an impetus for them to grow in power by leaps and bounds over the last 25 years. And now the Hells Angels in Canada, they hold the power for all of 81 Nation around the globe right now. And that's pretty significant since Hells Angels is an American founded and based organization, and the power had always been either in California or New York or Arizona. It had never been outside the borders of the United States. Now it's in Canada because of Marty Robert and Walter Stadnick. And Casper is one of their top guys. Was under Monboucher, was under the people that came before Marty Robert, and is, again, relatively young guy. I believe he's still in his 50s. So got a lot of runway left on his career. And I'm sure there will be no stopping the trajectory of someone like that. It's a lot of momentum and a guy that's only going to get more powerful with age, but somebody that has tremendous amount of respect and love amongst the powers that be in the Hells Angels. But got locked back up. Wanted to touch base on that. Let everybody know. We'll keep you updated with everything that goes on up in the Canadian underworld. Just really, really riveting times, as you know. It's been 10, 15 years of chaos, which makes for great reporting subjects. So, Original Gangsters podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. And we got your true crime fix whenever you need it, 24/7, giving you the latest breaking news when it comes to the North American underworld. I'm Scott Burnstein. Original Gangsters podcast, uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country at a time.